Hey everyone, Mr. MC here. This is a lap guide for the current lap time challenge taking place at Trial Mountain in reverse with the Roadster shop Rampage. And we're on the sports soft tires for this challenge. So to access this lap time challenge, go over to sport mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed. Click on online time trials in the middle of the screen and scroll a bit towards the right as there are multiple lap time challenges being held right now. So this is a 2-week event ending at the end of August 14, 2024. We're on the sports soft tires, and your goal is to get within the 3% time range of the world record time when the event ends, as that is when your lap time gets counted, and hopefully you'll get to 2 million credits. Now, the Roadster shop Rampage is flipping wild to drive, so you really need to be careful with your throttle inputs to make sure that this car stays under control. But as you start your lap, you're going to do a little bit of braking and turning in before the curb on the left ends. And do be aware that there are some times where you want to shift up earlier. For example, this turn right here, I was in 4th gear, now I'm in 5th gear. That way I don't have to shift up as I'm going through the main straight. Then turn in and ease off our throttle as you pass this boulder that is on the left, taking advantage of the blue and white curves. Then turn in just as the yellow barrier on the left starts. And we will go through this again as we end the lap, but this is when you're starting your lap. Now, with this car, I'm finding it better to try to shift when the shift bar is about halfway full, because if you try to rev it out, there'll be a bit less power, so you'll be accelerating a bit slower, which will cost you time. Now, your first braking point is shortly after you pass this gap on the barrier that is on the right. And I'll show you where I brake right now. So I'm braking right here, full braking power, and gradually make your way down to 2nd gear. Try to brake in a straight line, because if you're even just turning the wheel a little bit when you're braking at full braking power, the car can potentially step out. This bridge is your turning point, so just as you're about to go under the bridge, start to turn in, ease off the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking, and make sure you exit this chicane on 3rd gear. You can see I'm actually already on 3rd gear. So before the curb on the right starts, use 50% braking power, turn in, keep 2 wheels on the blue and white curves, and you need to straighten up the car as soon as possible and gradually get on the throttle to make sure that your car stays under control. Now bring yourself towards the left, next braking point before the yellow barrier on the left starts. So full braking power, and for this turn and the next one coming up, you can stay on 4th gear. And then turn in before the barrier on the left starts. So ease off of the brakes, so doing a bit of trail braking, and gradually get on the throttle again. You need to be really careful getting on the throttle because this car has like 700 horsepower, so it's really easy to spin out. Be careful getting back on the throttle. Now shortly after you pass this trailer that's on the left, that's where you start to brake. So you can see right here, this is exactly where I start to brake, full braking power for a short moment, and you want to turn in before the curb on the right ends. So just ease off of the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking, gradually getting on the throttle. And when you get towards this area up ahead, you want to start to ease off our throttle so that 1, your car can turn in a bit more for the chicane coming up, and 2, so that you have less chance of getting any unnecessary wheel spin. So you can see easing off our throttle so the car can turn in a bit more. And then brake just before you reach this barrier that is on the left that does not have any sponsors on it. So brake as much as you can for a short while. And we're going to go a bit wide through here. So basically turning in before we pass this large tree trunk that is on the left. And we're going to try to go for a late apex. That way we can straighten the car for the back straight. You can use this boulder on the right as your apex, and you can see right here I'm on 4th gear and I'm slowly starting to get on the throttle. You need to straighten up your car, you need to straighten up your steering inputs before you start to fully accelerate, because even just a little bit of turning input can potentially spin the car out It has happened to me multiple times there, and it is really freaking frustrating. But anyway, stay towards the left, and I like to use this final panel on the left as my braking point. You might be able to see the tunnel lights on the left. You can use those as a reference as well to start to brake. But either way, brake before you reach those tunnel lights on the left. So I'm braking right here, full braking power, and you're going to start to turn in just as the tunnel ends. So full braking power, going down to 4th gear, and you can see as the tunnel is ending, I'm gradually starting to turn in, and you can use this part of the track that's still within track limits. Stay on 4th gear, be really careful getting back on the throttle, and be careful about getting too close to this area on the right, as it's pretty easy to hit and that will invalidate your lap time. Bring yourself towards the right, still being really careful getting back on the throttle, and you can use this tree or this boulder on the right as your sign to start to brake and turn in almost immediately after. So using 50% braking power for a short moment, just let the car roll into this turn, nice and careful getting back on the throttle, doing a little bit of throttle control, and you want to brake right as the curb on the right starts. I'm actually braking just a little bit too late, so you want to brake just a hair bit earlier than where I start to brake. Turn in just before the curb on the right ends, and you'll see right here that because I braked just a little too late, I ended up missing the apex. So yeah, that ended up costing me about 1/10 of a second right there. But anyways, bring yourself towards the left, gonna brake before the tunnel starts, and if you have a sharp eye, you can brake before you reach the moss that is on the left, turning in almost right away. And then you can go up to 4th gear as you exit this turn and just gradually get back on the throttle. Again, you need to be really careful getting back on the throttle because this thing will spin you out if you're not careful. But anyways, before the curb on the left ends, that's where you brake and turn in. So you're using around 50% braking power for a short moment. And as you hit this first apex, go up to 5th gear. And just as you're about to pass the boulder or the ambulance that is on the left, that's where you want to start to turn in towards the left and lift off our throttle. As long as you keep 2 wheels on the blue and white curves, you're still within track limits. Then when the yellow barrier on the left starts, a little bit more lifting off our throttle and turn in. Just trying to straight line it through here and finish your lap. And in a moment, we'll go through this again, but this time I will not stop the video. Alright, so here we go, getting ready to start the new session, and you can go on 4th gear right around here as you're starting the new session, and you really need to be careful getting back on the throttle, as even on 4th gear, this car can get unnecessary wheel spin and spin you out. And that's pretty much going to be the name of the game for this lap time challenge. You can shift when the shift bar is around halfway full, as revving out can cost you a bit of time. Look for a gap on the right, as that is your first braking point. Make your way down to 2nd gear for a bit more rotation, but exit on 3rd gear. And when you're exiting these turns, you want to straighten up your car, straighten up your steering, and then gradually get back on the throttle so that your car stays under control. Especially for the chicane we just went through, and for a turn like this one with this little dip, you want to straighten up your car and gradually get back on the throttle so your car doesn't spin out. And you want to do a little throttle control through here, that way the car can turn in a bit more. And for this hairpin that takes you to the back straight, I like to go a bit deep, then bring myself back in for a later apex. That way I have a bit of time to straighten the car and gradually get back on the throttle. That way the car stays under control and I don't have to worry so much about the risk of spinning out. Stay towards the left. Gonna brake before the orange tunnel lights on the left. Down to 4th gear. You can bring yourself towards the right. Nice and careful back on the throttle. And look for the first boulder on the right. Just letting the car roll into these turns. Brake right when the curb on the right starts. And down to 3rd gear you go. And yeah, you need to be really careful getting back on the throttle. That's another nasty corner right there. Exit on 4th gear as you're getting ready to exit the tunnel. Brake before the curb on the left ends, and you can shift up to 5th gear right around here. Take advantage of the blue and white curves as you're still within track limits, doing some throttle control as you go through the final chicane. And that is it for this lap on chase cam. So we'll go through it one more time, but this time in bumper cam. And here we go. So again, you really need to be careful getting back on the throttle. I cannot stress this enough with this car. Even on the sports soft tires, like, this car just loves to generate a lot of wheel spin. And if you're even just a tiny bit not careful with the throttle control, the car can step out, which best case scenario, it'll cost you a little bit of time. But worst case scenario, you'll spin out and you have to restart your whole session. Now that gap on the right, that's your first braking point, going down to 2nd gear for more rotation. Exit the chicane on 3rd gear, straighten up your car, straighten up your steering, and gradually get back on the throttle. And yeah, you want to make sure that you're not getting any of that unnecessary wheel spin. This and the next turns, you can stay on 4th gear. You just need to be really careful getting back on the throttle. I cannot stress that enough. Again, nice and easy back on the throttle, lifting off our throttle a bit for these S's right here. Then look for the blank barrier on the left. That's the next braking point. Here I like to go a bit deep into the turn to try to bring myself back in for a late apex. And again, even here as you're starting the back straight, you really need to be careful with your turning inputs and getting back on the throttle, because even on 4th gear, this car can spin out. Now look for the orange tunnel lights that are on the left. You're going to brake before you start to pass them. Put onto 4th gear, ease off the brakes as you're turning in, so doing a bit of trail braking. Look for the boulder on the right, as that is your braking and turning point. Just let the car roll into this turn. A little bit of throttle control. Brake just as the curb on the right starts. And again, back on the throttle as carefully as possible. Brake before the tunnel starts. Go up to 4th gear as you exit the tunnel. And just nice and careful back on the throttle. Brake and turn in before the curb on the left ends. A little bit of throttle control. Go up to 5th gear. A little bit more throttle control. And finish your lap. And with this, I'm going to be honest, I don't know how I was able to do this, but I was able to get a 152.3. Honestly, I thought I was going to be in the 53s, but somehow got a 52, so I'm pretty happy about this lap. But that's going to be it for this lap guide. Hopefully this lap guide helps you out. If you like this video, you can press the like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But this is Mr. MCA, and I'll see you in the next video.